Hey everyone, it's Saoirse, and today we're going to talk about a book called Six Walks in the Footsteps of Henry David Thoreau. This is by Ben Shattuck, who is actually Jenny Slate's husband. So in the last video we talked about Jenny Slate's book, Lifeform. Well, this is her husband. And I did this fun thing where I read these back to back, and you get a look at, because they're both nonfiction, you get a look at both of them talking about each other and what it meant to meet this other person. And that was really cool. I don't know if I've had that experience of reading a book by two spouses where, yeah, where you hear about the same experience but from totally different perspectives. So I will read any book about walking. I don't care what it is, give it to me. I love books about walking. I love walking. And I love books. So one of my all-time favorites is A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. And when I picked this up and I saw one of the chapters is about Katahdin, I was like, oh, I have to read it. So yeah, it's 6 different walks that he does. And I'll just read you the back so you can get an understanding. On an autumn morning in 1849, Henry David Thoreau stepped out his front door to walk the beaches of Cape Cod. Over a century and a half later, Ben Shattuck does the same thing. With little more than a loaf of bread, brick of cheese, and a notebook, Shattuck sets out to retrace Thoreau's path through the Cape's outer beaches from the elbow to Provincetown's fingertip. This is the first of 6 journeys taken by Shattuck, each one inspired by a walk once taken by Henry David Thoreau. After the Cape, Shattuck goes up Mount Katahdin and Mount Wachusett, down the coastline of his hometown, and then through the Allagash. Along the way, Shattuck encounters unexpected characters, landscapes, and stories, seeing for himself the restorative effects that walking can have on a dampened spirit. Over years of following Thoreau, Shattuck finds himself uncovering new insights about family, love, friendship, and fatherhood, and understanding more deeply the lessons walking can offer through life's changing seasons. Intimate, entertaining, and beautifully crafted with original illustrations throughout, 6 Walks is a resounding tribute to the ways walking in nature can inspire us all. So let's see. This was, oh my god, I think I've been forgetting to say when books are published. This is from 2022, and I'm going to read you the little epigraph at the beginning. So I realized that most of the things that I tabbed and saved in this book were actually Henry David Thoreau quotes. So it just really resonated with me. We will remember within what walls we lie, and understand that this level life too has its summit, and why from the mountain top the deepest valleys have a tinge of blue, that there is elevation in every hour, as no part of the earth is so low that the heavens may not be seen from, and we have only to stand on the summit of our hour to command an uninterrupted horizon. And he wrote that when he was 25 years old in 1842. So, okay, wow. My jaw still hurts. I'm filming all of these videos in one day, and it hurts so much. This was really interesting to read after I had just gotten back from Massachusetts. So I talked about going to Boston to see Jenny Slate, and I went to my friend's place in Cape Cod. And so then reading about this in Provincetown, I was like, whoa, I just went there. I know exactly what you're talking about. So I kind of planned my reading very well in that way. So to me, this kind of, you can see there's these great illustrations. This book reads kind of journal-y more than if you have read A Walk in the Woods. That has more, Bill Bryson is very humorous, so it has a lot of humor, and it has a lot of backstory about the trail. You're going to learn a lot. This felt like kind of more private thoughts and a journal quality to it, if that makes sense to you. And this is a quote from Thoreau. "I must confess there is nothing so strange to me as my own body," he wrote in his journal the winter of 1842. "I love any other piece of nature almost better." But his body would not be violated without the consequence of law. it would be protected by its particular stretch of skin and hormones and organs. So he's talking about how he recognizes that he has this white male privilege to be in the wilderness and not really worry about anything other than bears, I guess. I love that whole, would you rather be in the woods with a bear or a man? We'd all take the bear. So I noticed, like, in that quote, this kind of sense of, like, either self-hatred or dissociation or, like, depersonalization. Like, nothing is so strange to me as, like, this body that I'm in. I feel detached from it, and I love everything more than I love this vessel. Just, like, related to that. I wondered if people will ever stop loving the sea, this weapon we've created out of climate change. As in, when it finally rolls in, will there be a few of us staring out to the horizon still, admiring the vast beauty that just ruined us? Rising global temperatures recently placed Henry's journals into popular view. A few Massachusetts biologists use his record of wildflowers' 19th century bloom dates to compare to present-day bloom dates. Flowers were not opening on schedule, they saw, which divided the flowers from their pollinators' schedules. There's this quote that's gone around, something like, climate change is something that you will watch from afar in videos filmed by other people, and watch as it gets closer and closer to your own home until you're the one filming the video. And I don't want to go on a whole rant right now, but I feel very sad that we put so much time and effort and money into things like killing each other and asserting dominance, and not putting that energy into saving the only freaking planet that we have that we know can sustain our life. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense that people don't believe in it. Like, don't believe that things are changing for the worse. And it is important, because I'm so pessimistic, people remind me, you must remember there is hope. There is still hope, but we really have to act now. And we're not doing that. Or at least most people are not doing that. And, I don't know, cutting down forests to have more land to graze all these cows so that McDonald's can have a $1 cheeseburger. I mean, it's just revolting. Anyway, he talks a lot about, like, current issues in here. One thing, I was disappointed by the Katahdin chapter, because, like, I've done Katahdin twice. Once at the end of my thru hike of the AT, and then once years later redoing the whole 100-mile wilderness and Katahdin. And the first experience was, like, freezing, horrific weather, just not good weather, no view whatsoever at the summit. And then the second time was the total opposite, gorgeous, perfect, beautiful weather. Spent hours up there getting a sunburn. And Katahdin is a place that is so sacred and so special and unique. And I felt like he didn't really, like, get into that at all. Like, maybe he had one of those climbs where the weather wasn't doing it that day, or, like, some vibe was off, but he was not blown away by the power of this mountain. At least that's what I got. He just didn't really write about that, so I was like, arr. But here's another bit from Thoreau, and this is what he wrote in his the thing that he wrote about Katahdin. I stand in awe of my body. This matter to which I am bound has become so strange to me. I fear not spirits, ghosts of which I am one, that my body might, but I fear bodies. I tremble to meet them. What is this Titan that has possession of me? Talk of mysteries. Think of our life in nature, daily to be shown matter to come in contact with it, rocks, trees, wind on our cheeks, the solid earth, the actual world, the common sense, contact. Contact. Who are we? Where are we? What did I think about that? I don't know. I like Thoreau's kind of like just a constant awe of not just his body but his surroundings. And I don't know. Maybe I'm always reading into things more than I need to because I have depersonalization disorder. And so I see it in other people, and I'm always thinking, are you like me? Are you feeling very detached from yourself and your surroundings? And like perhaps Thoreau did have it, and maybe he that's why he just needed to be in nature constantly to connect to his body in the present moment. Because that is something that helps me a lot. Oh, I liked this bit. Scattered at my feet were slicks of torn mushrooms. If spring is the season for the eyes, earth laughs in flowers, wrote Ralph Waldo Emerson, and summer for touch, the sun, of bare feet, of seawater on your skin, then fall is mostly for the nose, the bass note scent of the ground. To walk through a forest in New England's autumn is to put your nose to nature's neck. I want to put my nose to nature's neck. That sounds really nice. Beautiful turn of phrase. Here's another Thoreau quote. There is, however, this consolation to the most wayworn traveler, upon the dustiest road, that the path his feet describe is so perfectly symbolical of human life. Now climbing the hills, now descending into the vales. From the summits he beholds the heavens and the horizon, from the vales he looks up to the heights again. He is treading his old lessons still, and though he may be very weary and travel-worn, it is yet sincere experience. I like that as the meaning of walking. Why do we do this? People ask, why do you go on such long walks? Because it's symbolic. It's a microcosm of the entire experience of living. You're trudging along, running over obstacles, you're climbing a mountain that's completely wooded, and so you don't get any view at the summit after working really, really hard. Then you think, okay, things are going to be easier now because I've reached this difficult point to get to, and we're just going downhill, but in a good way. But then you're like, oh my God, is downhill actually harder? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And here's a nice Thoreau quote. I can remember that when I was very young, I used to have a dream night after night over and over again, which might have been named rough and smooth. All existence, all satisfaction and dissatisfaction, all event was symbolized in this way. Now I seemed to be lying and tossing perchance on a horrible, a fatal rough surface which must soon indeed put an end to my existence, though even in the dream I knew it to be the symbol merely of my misery. And then again, suddenly I was lying on a delicious smooth surface, as of a summer sea, as of gossamer, or down, or softest plush, and life was such a luxury to live. My waking experience always has been and is such an alternate, rough and smooth. And that's just another way of saying peaks and valleys and all that. I think it's cool that he had this dream about it. Oh, and here we see Ben talking about Jenny. After Jenny left Norway, I climbed the surrounding fjords by myself to give my friends the sweethearts time alone. I sat on a steep slab of wet grass high above the cottage we were staying in, looking at sheep scattered across the fjord's deep scoop, inexplicably missing Jenny, this stranger I'd spent only 3 days with. I missed her as if she were a longtime friend or homesickness. I missed her and then thought how stupid it was to miss someone I didn't know, and then later found myself in the quiet kitchen in the Norwegian cottage, staring at the tea kettle long after it had boiled, lost in thought. Something was missing, as sudden and big as if the ocean out the window were gone. There were 3 of us in the cottage. There should be 4. Oh, that was cute. Imagine somebody missing you. I bet that's happened, and like it happens to all of us, but the people just don't say it. We should say things more. We should embarrass ourselves and say our feelings. Be too much. What is too much? I just had a moment where I thought I saw a cockroach. I'm becoming delusional after filming for so long. If you're an omnivore, you might feel guilty at some point about being the reason for an animal's death. You might be thinking of an animal's feelings, consciousness, or right to a natural death. But I think that guilt could come from a place far less abstract, a fleshier place that most omnivores don't see anymore. The body of an animal, and how beautiful it can be to almost all our senses. The warmth of a cow's neck on a cold day, a pig's eyelashes, the color of a dairy calf's nose, the softness of lamb's wool. When throughout this summer I call to my 2 chickens to roost, these birds come to my feet, look at me with tilted heads, and I see the depth of red in their combs as vibrant as blood in a Rembrandt painting. They coo when they hear my footfalls down the garden path in the morning. I see them standing at the fence when I round the corner, waiting for me to open the gate. How sweet their cooing is, and how sad it would be if it ended. And I like these illustrations. And yeah, as somebody who's like mostly vegetarian, I liked that idea of like maybe the guilt doesn't come from all these very human ideas about right and wrong, and does the animal have a right to a natural death? But it could come from, oh, I just simply don't want to kill and eat this thing that I find beautiful. I liked that. Oh, he's talking about in an attic, his mother found these letters from, it says his great-grandmother, Catherine, and it's like letters that she's been sent from all these men who loved her, and I really liked this bit. My mother found blue ribbon bundles of letters that Catherine saved from the lovers or crushes she had before meeting her husband. There is one letter from the son of the Japanese ambassador to the United States, another from the Secretary of State, who secretly made out with her when she was only 16. Burn this letter he'd written on every single letter she saved. But the most riveting letters are from an Egyptologist who joined his father in entering King Tutankhamun's tomb. Dear Katinka, he nicknamed her in his letters, and then described taking a felucca down the Nile at sunset. Oh, I just thought, like, how romantic is it to be loved so often throughout your life, to, like, by the end have this whole bundle of love letters, and I wish people still wrote letters. I went through a phase when I was having all these different little love affairs. We would write letters, or in some cases I would write a letter and then they would break up with me. That happened like, oh my god, 1, 2, 3 times. 3 different times where I was the first to write a letter and then they broke up with me while the letter was in transit to them. But there were, maybe, 1 or 2 people who like wrote me letters, and it's such a special thing to do. It is so exciting to receive a love letter, or any kind of letter. I don't care who you are. If it's a friendship letter, send me a letter. Here's another Thoreau quote. I think that I cannot preserve my health and spirits, Henry wrote, unless I spend 4 hours a day at least, and it is commonly more than that, sauntering through the woods and over the hills and fields, absolutely free from all worldly engagements. Oh, if only. God, living in Florida is hard for so many reasons. But yeah, a good 4-hour hike, man, the things that does for your physical and mental health. It's, walking is medicine. This part was really sad. Is this why a parent's death is so devastating? That of all the witnesses lined up in your life, losing a parent is losing the biggest one, the one who drummed you up out of nowhere and saw you and saw you and saw you. This is no stranger than a physical truth I read some years ago, that my mother might still be carrying some of my own fetal cells in her bloodstream, carrying something of myself that even I don't have anymore. Oh, that thought of this person is your longest witness. How do you exist without them? How do you exist without the only person in the whole world who has seen you from the beginning? It's a scary thought. Don't like that thought. Another Thoreau quote. Henry wrote in Walking, "I am alarmed when it happens that I have walked a mile into the woods bodily without getting there in spirit. In my afternoon walk I would fain forget all my morning occupations and my obligations to society, but it sometimes happens that I cannot easily shake off the village. The thought of some work will run in my head, and I am not where my body is. I am out of my senses. In my walks I would fain return to my senses. What business have I in the woods if I am thinking of something out of the woods?" I love that. And it's funny because when I went to do my 6-month through hike, I thought, okay, cool. I'm gonna have so much time to do so much thinking. I'm gonna get some thinking done. I'm gonna work out all my problems. And then you find that you are actually just thinking about the woods and surviving and how uncomfortable you are. And that's a really cool flower. And yeah, it becomes completely in the moment. So I really liked that quote. Because sometimes you do. I mean, sometimes it's like that and you're in the moment, and then other times, yeah, you are still caught in your head if maybe the hike isn't really doing it for you, and you're thinking about stuff that has nothing to do with where you are, and that's sad. But nature is so powerful, it usually kind of puts things into perspective. In other words, walking through the dark forest, you might eventually look up through the trees, see that the sky above is the same as the sky over the sunny pasture, that it is one canopy of light spread over your whole life's landscape. Grief and joy are in the same life, but it's only in the forest where you notice the shafts of sunlight spilling through. I like that. All of our life is lived under one sun. Every experience, good and bad, that we have is like witnessed by these celestial bodies. Okay, last one. Was being troubled a requirement of seeing meaning? I'm gonna back up a little bit. I didn't want to feel alone, self-loathing, and bitter as I had before, but I did want to see purpose in the landscape, the way the landscape had felt therapeutic. Was being troubled a requirement of seeing meaning? If I felt content, was there something that seeped away from the clouds and dune grass? When I had walked in the forest at the foot of Wachusett Mountain, I looked at mushrooms and envied them, their brainless growth, their clear purpose, their vacuum of human troubles. They had one job, and they did it with colorful purpose. I don't envy a mushroom now. I didn't want to be in crisis. Still, I wanted the revelation that came at the end of my first cave walk, that following Henry led to hidden, unexpected goodness. I really like that point. Do we have to be stuck in misery? Is that the only way to be authentic? To feel like, for me, unfortunately, yeah, it feels that way, that I can only write from a place of sorrow. I can only write about epiphanies if I have been through something horrific and that requires an epiphany at the end of it. I don't know how to write or talk about happiness. And maybe I'll get there someday. But I often feel like the most powerful stories are the ones that talk about overcoming something terrible. So do we have to live through these terrible things in order to get the worthwhile story at the end? And yes, my therapist says I live too much for the plot. But as a writer, it's so hard not to do that. It's so hard. Okay. I'm so tired and my jaw hurts, and I still have one more video, and now I don't even know if I'm going to get to it because my jaw hurts so much. But thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Until then, happy reading.